Hey everybody, welcome into Folklore and Flourish. Yeah, we're just getting it started today.
I was not ready.
I know sometimes I just like to go right in, like even when I'm doing it by myself,
It's like, surprise.
I'll go right in and then I just get
Oh,
into it.
you even surprise yourself?
Yeah, because sometimes I don't, sometimes I get into the mindset where I get so much anxiety of how to start
Mm.
that I'll sit there for 30 minutes, not
Trying
just
to figure
not
out how to start
starting
just
or just being so uncomfortable with doing it that I'm
mm,
like, so sometimes I like to just jump right into it.
I love that.
And that's
Alright.
what I did today for May 24th. So you're with Jane and Mark over at Blue Ox 29. It's May 24th. And today we are in the fourth and final week of May, the month of creation and fertility, the archetype of the life giver. And today is all about the gifts. So in week 4, we're in abundance and blessings. And these are all different kinds of gifts with the theme of blessings. So we're going to look at the lessons that life gives generously. We see this through a number of different forms of gifts, some that we've been misinterpreted through the years. We see that right away with Pandora's box. So
Mm.
we get to see Pandora and her. And then we get to see Sif's golden hair. Any people that have seen the new Loki show, they know that Loki's the one that cut her hair off. That's actually part of the true mythology. And then we get into Shinto and Andean stories. And so it's just a lot of gifts, but not always arriving in ways or being seen in ways that we initially thought they'd be. So there's a lot of chaos in a number of these stories, as well as some not so great things that happen just in general to the whole world because of others. But it kind of leads us to the fact that sometimes those gifts are never brought forward until there's chaos and destruction,
Mhm.
right? We already know that deities like Loki, the trickster deities, they hold a seriously important role
Yeah.
in the universe, right? Loki's one of the ones that's almost seen as a brother to Odin, even called a brother in some of the mythology. So we get to see some of that. But as we look at that today, we're going to think about what have I been gifted? Okay. So I wanted you to, so everybody watching, I asked Mark to wear his twins stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Just one of, yeah.
And one of the things that I've been gifted recently is on Mother's Day, I asked my mom to teach me how to use a sewing machine. So she bought me a sewing machine like over a year ago. And I met Mark like, what, 13 days or 12 days before I got it.
Mm.
And so I never really opened it up, but I got to learn how to do that. And then I ended up making this with the sewing machine.
Mhm.
I wanted something that was kind of light and breezy to wear for 4th of July and stuff.
Yeah.
But also I wanted something to go with like your twins uniform.
Right.
It's funny though, because all the baseball teams I've liked growing up have all had the same kind of color scheme.
Yeah.
Red's always been the prominent color though, as I've gotten older.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know. I like this color scheme. I was able to turn some old jerseys into this
Yeah.
jacket. And
No,
it's
that's
like my
super cool.
first thing, I've refurbished and I've done. So I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah. No,
But it
that's
all
awesome.
came from the gift of, time and learning something from my mom.
Right.
So that was pretty exciting.
Just some sort of gift, not all gifts have to be a thing.
Right.
Time is one of the most important gifts I think anybody can give
Being
anybody.
taught something too,
Yeah,
like something you can carry
for
forward. And
sure.
like, if you can see it, it's more of, I know I'm super close. 369, there's a lot tied with that spiritually, a lot of current myths coming forward. I know it's kind of crazy to say current myths because it's
Right.
two words contradict, but some extra folklore being added to the 369 and manifestation and
Mhm.
everything. But one of the biggest, do you know one of the biggest people tied to this number that actually started or was a heavy influence in it being this positive thing was actually Nikola Tesla.
Mhm.
So do you know the quote of how it's pretty much the universal language or the universal
The if you
symbol?
look into those 3 numbers, that is pretty much yeah, that's and it's there's
Ironic thinking that with the 6 being always like the demon number, whatever, yet it's the central number in universal
I think
symbol.
the reason why it's been given that is because the deception of if we knew what reality actually was and how we were supposed to work through it compared to the way we are, that number would have a different meaning to
Right.
all of us. So, in order for their little plan to work, they had to make sure that certain things weren't used. Numbers, our languages, that's why they all
Mhm.
changed, within the mythological stuff,
I
if
think
you look at it
that's
that way.
my, angelic number, I
Mm,
is I'm thinking correctly, and I think yours was 3, right?
I think so, but I'd have to double check. And that's
Yeah.
just you add each number separately, right?
Mhm.
You don't add some before you just go in order.
Yeah.
I think so.
But, yeah, I don't know, it's just kind of exciting, and I made this necklace too, and so, I don't know, it's kind of cool how you can take things that you're taught, just little things, like, I didn't learn how to make jewelry or anything, like, I didn't make the design in there, but buying
Mhm.
stuff and putting them together, I'd seen my mom, like, fix so much when we were younger, or kind of change things up to fit a little bit better. And so it's just kinda cool the lessons, like you said, it's not always something that you notice
Mm,
being given to you. Sometimes gifts are something you don't even realize until you're giving it to someone else. Like, that's something cool too, is sometimes we don't even realize we've been holding the gift for so long
right.
until we're letting it go. And I think that that's probably one of my favorite things, you know?
Mhm.
And I think something that I used to do that with was, like, tie-dye. I'm pretty sure my mom was the first person that taught me how to tie-dye something, and I had taught several classes how to do it. Those chicken nugget tie-dye things I have?
Mhm.
There are, what, 30 something kids that have those too. I
Mm.
bought every single one of them with my own money. We had a free barbecue one of the years. Kids just got to make these tie-dye shirts, go crazy, eat some lunch with their parents,
Mm.
like, actually get to enjoy something, and that's a science experiment. I did it with 3rd graders, right?
Right.
So seeing the process, obviously, I went home and I rinsed them, you know, but they had to actually tie them. I helped them, obviously, but get them ready, paint them, seal them in, and then it also taught them how much time some things
Mm.
take that you really don't think about,
Yeah.
like clothes. You just buy them. You get what you want this fast. But then you think about, "Holy, it took me this long to do it, and then we have to drain the color, and then you gotta wash
Mhm.
after they dry for so long," you know?
Yeah.
But just it was fun because those kids, I always got them oversized shirts, okay? Always.
Mhm.
And I saw them in middle school again, some of them would wear them.
Oh, that's cute.
Like, a few of them wore them often, like, it was one of their shirts that ended up fitting really well during, like, their puberty stage because, like I said, like, I wanted them to be able to wear it later in life, okay? Because it had the year of their graduation on it,
That's cool.
which my favorite part about it is that my original, the OG chicken nuggets, first class ever, 2029 is their graduation year.
Yeah, that's
So the
cool.
very first shirt I have that I've ever made that with is a number 29.
Right.
So it's just another,
Yeah.
gift that we don't realize that we have or that we're carrying or giving until the time comes up where we use it,
Mhm.
right? And now we're in the midst of we made so many different logos that we actually made them for the different items we're
Yeah.
like giving with our business. So that's exciting too. But I think that we're getting to our general overall one. So our activity after we think about what have I been gifted, we're going to give something away deliberately without expectation of return.
Mhm.
We're going to give something away deliberately without expectation of return. And something that it goes along with what you've said. I can give you information and what you do with it's none of my business.
Mhm.
We don't need to hear thank you.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a lot of pressure. And I think that's one of the reasons I struggle so much with my birthday is because of the pressure. I don't know why. It's just pressure in my own head because I know people only want to celebrate. When you get older, you realize they only want to celebrate you because they love you.
Mhm.
And they're not expecting anything. But, once you've shed the friends that were users,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard for a little bit. But we're going to give something away deliberately. We don't need to expect a thank you. we always receive them, if they're given, and I always believe that they're meaningful.
Mhm.
I never look at someone and assume that they don't mean it when they say it,
Right.
because it's none of my business, truly. I used to think that, but now it's none of my business if they meant it or not.
Right.
I'm gonna take it like you meant it. I'm gonna take you for your word,
Yeah.
and that's it. But with all of that, we're gonna allow generosity to affirm abundance rather than diminish it today. So by giving things away, we're affirming abundance in ourselves, right? Because this desire, this obsession to hold on tightly to things is the fear that we won't have enough. We're
Mhm.
already setting ourselves up for things to not come to us,
Right.
right? So that's a major thing too. And just, I don't know, if you listen to these stories and it's hard to think of what you've been gifted, I think one of the easiest things is that we've been gifted this life.
Yeah.
Every single morning we wake up, and I've not been a positive person, every single day. It's not like I wake up every day and I've been like, yes, I'm so excited to be here. No,
Pumped.
I've been on the flip side, but
I think a lot of us have.
we've been given a chance,
Mhm.
prove yourself wrong.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I have those tough days, I tell some of my friends, they go to meetings with, that I will sometimes put on my heaviest makeup on days that I'm really like struggling,
Mhm.
because internally I tell myself, you can't cry. You can't wash this much money away. Even if I have an abundance of money, I just tell myself, like, you look too good to cry. You look too pretty to
Yeah.
cry. All right. But it's just little things, like that of every day is a gift.
Yeah.
And, it's a gift to be able to prove ourselves wrong when we used to think we aren't worthy or we
Mhm.
aren't good enough. So just keep that in mind. That way, if you listen to these and you're like, I don't know what I've been gifted,
Yeah.
your life is enough.
Mhm.
The breath you breathe is enough.
Yeah.
And so that's all that I have for today. We are dwindling down to our final few. I'm really excited for tomorrow as well. Like I said, I've been excited for every day this month. But tomorrow we get to be thinking about the people and
Mm.
community. So we've heard so much about community and the different cultures that mm, community hits differently in different cultures. Some that's what it's based off of, while others it's based off of the partnership, while others it's based off the children. But I'm I'm just happy to finally be at a page, like a day where we get to sit down and actually go, this is community,
Yeah.
you know, with life and creation. Here is the people, because we've all been given this life, right?
Mm.
We've all been given this responsibility as well as this gift. And I think that there's so many more gifts worth receiving and having when you have someone to share it with, you know?
Yeah.
Like there are some things where we achieve on our own, or, I was built for this, I was built for greatness. But you always hear, it doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter what life they come from, being at the top is lonely when you're there,
I wouldn't wanna be at the
standing
top
there
alone,
by
for sure.
yourself,
No, yeah. And they do say, and I've personally felt that is, especially with you, is they say behind every strong man is a powerful woman, or however you, whatever way you want to say that
Mhm.
saying. And it's so true, because with a lot that you do with in our relationship of pushing me towards, like, I'm envisioning stuff like with things that go on now. I see things in the future already in the way you're going to be that pedestal for me. Whether or not you're sitting at home cuddling pigs, that doesn't matter. It's what you did to get me to the point, where I'm off being that powerful person, but without you getting me to the point to be able to do that, to have that foundation of giving me the opportunity to go. And that's the biggest thing, is so many people are like, they don't give enough to the people in the background, because you wouldn't be where you're at if it wasn't for this person. And that's the biggest thing, is I truly want you to know is I see it already happening for what you've already done. So
I
it
love
is
that.
appreciated for sure.
I love that. And I love thinking that, there is no harsh anything or bad anything. when you say, like, there's a strong woman behind you or
Mm.
next to you, like, there are definitely situations where a partner steps up to be right next to them, and there are others where they're not, and,
And it
I
goes
enjoy
both
where we're
ways
at.
too, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm just clarifying that for any viewers because there are, like, a lot of things that I mean, I chose you as a partner because I
Mhm.
didn't wanna stand, like, in front taking all the hits all the time,
Right.
you know? And so we gotta keep that in mind too, is that there's absolutely nothing wrong with being vulnerable and being the one that has to rely on someone else. You know,
Right.
that's a gift in itself.
Truly, 100%. When you can truly rely on somebody else, that is a gift from that person. 1,000,000%.
And one last thing, I just thought of it because I didn't wanna forget about it. Well, I thought about it, remembered it. But another reason I wanted you to wear this is because, a gift that I got you for Christmas
Mm.
was we're going to San Francisco to watch a Twins and Giants game.
Yeah.
So that was another reason I wanted you to do this because it's like so many different types of gifts happening. The gift of going to the game, of
Mhm.
being able to make stuff to go and enjoy it and to be supportive. But then all the things we're gonna get to do, like the experiences of going to the like Alcatraz,
Mhm.
the harbor areas, and then going, fingers crossed that they're migrating well. Has nothing to do with money, unfortunately, it has everything to do with the migration.
Nature, yep. It's 100% the nature. It's,
And,
are the
if
sharks gonna be there?
and if the orcas come in, the sharks will leave. But that's what's dangerous too, is that I think that if orcas are there, sharks will leave for a number of years. I don't know if that's
Mm.
correct or not, but just that sometimes when we choose to allow a gift to continue to move forward, it really will continue to build upon itself in ways that stretch so far beyond what we can even see.
Yeah.
Because us going, we might interact with people and that might be their gift,
Yeah.
you know? And as we get to meet these people, I mean, I'm excited because you're QHHT. I mean, you'll already be at least level 2 by then.
Mhm.
So it's what, September? And that was the thing too. It was the only time the twins were there, and it might be a little too early, so we might have to go twice. But then we would just be able to watch another team.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, we just gotta keep gifting.
Mm.
And we saw that with yesterday with the storehouse. And when, yeah, it's cool when we save things for ourselves, we pass things down through family. I'm not saying that we give everything to everyone, because we don't live in a place yet where that can be done respectfully.
Mhm.
That's like small communities at a time because it's not a everything you have is mine. It's
Right.
more of a I'm okay with where I'm at. But as we saw with yesterday's story and like the gifts today is there is something truly special about our ability to share and love others
Mm.
unconditionally, right? Because that's what we're told is happening above, right? If someone's doing that for us. And they're doing that knowing everything about us.
Right.
So who are we to give anything less to people,
Yeah.
you know? But with that, that's all that I have for today with the gift. It was just kind of a happy, exciting one. You're going to read the stories and be like, what the heck? Because there's death in a couple of them. But as you see with all the bad, there are certain good things we would never be able to experience without the bad. And interestingly enough, hope is one of the biggest
Yeah.
emotions we wouldn't be able to feel without.
It's just the way our universe is set up, you know? It's the duality of it. That's why yin and yang is such a
So,
big thing to
what are
me.
they called? Beautiful tragedies.
Yeah. Like, it makes you appreciate sometimes even more and love more because, man, it's not gonna be here long, so I better take this chance to not take it for granted.
Right. Well, with that, we'll see you guys tomorrow, and I hope you enjoy these stories.
See you guys. Love you.
before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1, Pandora, the vessel that held both gift and consequence. In the early shaping of the world, when God, still moved close to creation and humanity, had not yet learned the full weight of consequence, there came into being a figure not born in the ordinary sense, but crafted with intention, assembled through divine will, and sent into the world carrying more than she could possibly understand. Pandora was created at the command of Zeus in response to Prometheus's act of giving fire to humankind, an act that had shifted the balance between gods and mortals. If humanity had been given power, something else would follow, something that would complicate the gift and bind it to consequence. Hephaestus, god of the forge, shaped her body from clay, forming her from the same material as the earth itself, anchoring her existence in the physical world even as her essence was divine. Athena clothed her and taught her skill and craft. Aphrodite infused her with beauty and desire, and Hermes granted her speech, persuasion, and a restless, searching curiosity. One by one, each god contributed, layering her with qualities that made her radiant, compelling, and complex, until she stood not as a singular being, but as a convergence of divine intention, her very name meaning all gifted. Yet alongside these blessings, she was given a sealed jar, a vessel whose purpose was not explained, only accompanied by a simple instruction: it must not be opened. When Pandora entered the human world, she carried both her visible gifts and her quiet weight of the unknown. For a time, nothing fractured. Her presence was admired, her beauty noticed, her abilities expressed. And the jar remained closed, resting in the background like an unanswered question. But curiosity, too, had been given to her, not as a flaw, but as part of her design, a force that draws awareness outward, that presses against boundaries, that seeks understanding beyond what is immediately allowed. The jar was not simply an object, it became a focal point for the curiosity, a symbol of what is withheld, what is hidden, what calls to be known. When she finally opened it, the moment was not loud, not dramatic in its beginning, but quiet, almost ordinary, and in that quietness, everything changed. From within the jar poured the realities that would shape human life thereafter: illness, sorrow, toil, grief, suffering, each one escaping into the world, no longer contained, no longer separate from existence. The air itself seemed to shift as what had once been held apart became woven into daily life. Startled and afraid, Pandora closed the jar quickly, but the act could not be undone. What had been released would remain. Yet within the vessel at its very base, one presence had not escaped: Elpis, hope, still contained, still accessible, still part of what remained. It is this final detail that transforms the meaning of Pandora's story, shifting it from a simple tale of consequence into something far more layered and enduring. Pandora is not merely the one through whom suffering entered the world, but the one who preserved hope within it, the keeper of the very force that allows humanity to endure what it now must face. The same jar that released hardship also protected the one thing that gives it context, that softens its weight, that allows life to continue even when it has been altered. In this, the Greeks revealed a deeper understanding of existence, that gifts are rarely singular, that what is given often carries both creation and complication. Within it, that beauty, curiosity, intelligence, and consequence are not separate threads, but woven tightly together. Pandora becomes not a warning alone, but a mirror, reflecting the human condition itself, the way we carry within us both the potential to open what cannot be closed and the capacity to hold on to what sustains us afterward. To be gifted, her story suggests, is also to be entrusted, not with simplicity, but with complexity, with outcomes that cannot always be predicted, and with the quiet, enduring presence of hope that remains even when everything else has changed. Story 2, Sif, the golden hair that grew again. In the wind-carved lands of the north, where seasons turn sharply and survival depends on both resilience and renewal, There is a story that does not begin with abundance, but with loss, and from that loss, the emergence of something more enduring. It is a story of Sif, goddess associated with earth, fertility, and the golden fields of grain, whose most defining myth reveals that what is taken can be remade, that what is remade can carry even greater power than what came before. Sif was known for her long radiant hair described as gold in both color and symbolism, representing the ripened fields that bend under the weight of harvest, the visible sign of nourishment and life provided by the land. Her hair was not merely beauty, but meaning, living reflection of the earth's capacity to give. Yet one night while she slept, Loki, the trickster god, whose nature bends toward disruption and curiosity without boundary, crept in and cut her hair completely away, leaving her shorn, altered, and stripped of the very symbol that defined her to fertility and growth. When Thor, her husband, discovered what had been done, his anger was immediate and fierce, not only for the act itself, but for what it represented, a violation not just of Sif, but of the balance between growth and destruction. Loki, confronted with the consequence of his action, did not deny what he had done, but instead sought a way to repair it. Though repair in the Norse world is rarely a simple return of what once was, he traveled to Svartalfheim, the realm of the dwarves, master smiths whose creation often carried both beauty and immense power. There he commissioned the crafting of new hair for Sif, not from ordinary material, but from gold itself, spun and forged into strands so fine that they would rival the original. When placed upon her head, the hair would not remain lifeless, but would root, grow, and move as if it had always been part of her. Yet Loki's journey did not end with Sif's hair. Driven by competition and his own restless nature, he challenged the dwarves further, leading to the creation of other legendary gifts. Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, Odin's spear, Gungnir, and the ship, Skidbladnir, each one born from the same act that began in destruction. What started as harm became the catalyst for multiple blessings, each one extending beyond the original loss. When Sif received her new hair, it was not a mere replacement, but a transformation. The golden strands shimmered not only with beauty, but with resilience, a visible reminder that what had been cut away had not ended her connection to the earth, but reshaped it. Her story mirrors the cycle of the land itself. Fields are cut at harvest, stripped of their visible abundance. Yet this cutting is not the end of fertility, but part of its rhythm. What appears as loss is often preparation. What seems like absence becomes the ground for return. The Norse understood this deeply, living in a world where winters were harsh and resources uncertain, where survival depended on trusting that what had been gathered, lost, or changed would come again in a new form. Sif's golden hair becomes the image of that trust, not naive, but earned through the experience of disruption followed by renewal. Thus, the story of Sif stands as a reflection of blessing as restoration, of the way gifts are not always given without cost, but often arise from moments of fracture, from events that strip away what is familiar and force the creation of something new. It reminds that what is taken does not always diminish what remains, but can reveal new forms of abundance, that the act of regrowth carries its own kind of power, one shaped not by untouched perfection, but by endurance and transformation. In every moment where something is lost and something else grows in its place, in every cycle where what is cut returns with new strength, there is Sif, a reminder that life gives generously, but not always gently, and that within even the most unexpected change, there may be a gift waiting to take root. Story 3, The Sacred Mirror, the Gift that Reveals Itself. In the quiet, reverent traditions of Shinto, where the sacred is not distant but woven into the natural world, into light, reflection, and presence, there exists a gift that is not meant to be used, consumed, or spent, but to be seen. It is the story of the Ata no Kagami, the sacred mirror, one of the 3 imperial regalia of Japan, and a gift that carries within it not power in the usual sense, but revelation. Its origin is tied to a moment when light itself withdrew from the world. The sun goddess Amaterasu, offended and wounded by the chaos and disrespect of her brother, Susanoo, retreated into a cave, sealing herself inside. With her absence, the world fell into darkness, not only physical, but spiritually, as a source of life-giving light was hidden away. Crops failed, order unraveled, and the balance between heaven and earth began to dissolve. The other kami, the spirits and deities of Shinto belief, understood that they could not force her return. What had withdrawn needed to be invited back, not commanded. To draw her out, they gathered before the cave and created a scene not of desperation, but of celebration. They laughed, danced, and made noise, filling the space with life and sound, crafting an atmosphere that suggested something worth witnessing. Among the objects they prepared was a mirror, polished until it held the perfect reflection, positioned so that when Amaterasu looked outward, she would not see darkness, but something unexpected. Curious, she opened the cave slightly, just enough to glimpse what it was beyond her isolation. In that moment, her gaze fell upon the mirror, and she saw herself, radiant, luminous, not diminished by her retreat, but still carrying the fullness of who she was. Believing there was another presence shining so brightly, she stepped further out, drawn toward the image, toward the light she thought was external, but was in fact her own. As she emerged, the other kami quickly sealed the cave behind her, ensuring that light would return to the world. The mirror, in this moment, becomes more than an object. It becomes a bridge between withdrawal and return, between doubt and recognition, between absence and presence. It does not give Amaterasu something new, but reveals what she already is. This is the nature of its gift. Unlike material offerings, the mirror does not add, it clarifies. It reflects truth without distortion, showing not what one wishes to see, but what is. In Shinto belief, the mirror comes to represent purity, honesty, and self awareness. The understanding that the divine is not always something external to be sought, but something already present, waiting to be recognized. It is later enshrined as the ice grand shrine, not displayed casually, but honored, protected, and revered as a symbol of both the goddess and the principle she embodies. There is a quiet depth to this story that extends beyond its immediate events. Amaterasu's withdrawal mirrors moments of a human experience, times when light feels distant, when connection is lost, when one retreats inward, whether from pain, anger, or disillusionment. The response of the kami does not attempt to break the cave open, but instead creates a condition that invites return, a reminder that what is hidden often needs to be called back through recognition rather than force. The mirror itself suggests that what restores us is not always something new, but the rediscovery of what has always been within reach. The gift is not the mirror alone, but the awareness it awakens. Thus, the story of the sacred mirror stands as a reflection of blessing as revelation, of the way life gives not only through material abundance, but through moments of clarity, where something essential becomes visible again. It reminds that not all gifts arrive in the form of objects or outcomes. Some arrive as recognition, as a sudden understanding of one's own presence, one's own light, one's own place within the greater pattern of existence. In every moment where we see ourselves clearly after a period of doubt, where we return from distance into connection, where something within us is revealed rather than given, there is the essence of this gift, a quiet, steady reminder that life does not give generously, but often through reflection, through awareness, and through the simple, powerful act of seeing what has always been there. Story 4. The Corn Mother, the gift that feeds through sacrifice. In the fertile lands of the southeastern woodlands, where rivers wind through forests and fields open slowly beneath the care of human hand, there is a story of provision that does not come from effortless abundance, but from sacrifice, transformation, and a deep understanding that what sustains life is often given at great cost. It is the story of the Corn Mother, known in different traditions by different names, Selu among the Cherokee, or other forms across tribes, but always recognized as the one who gave the people their most essential nourishment. Her presence is not distant or symbolic alone, but immediate, rooted in the daily act of eating, of planting, of surviving through seasons that require both patience and trust. In her story, the gift of food is not separate from the giver, and the act of receiving is not separate from responsibility. The Corn Mother lived among her people, often with her sons, and each day she would provide food in a way that seemed mysterious and effortless. Grain, beans, and sustenance would appear, enough to feed the family without visible labor in the fields. Her sons, growing older and more curious, began to question how this was possible. Suspicion replaced trust, and instead of accepting the gift, they chose to uncover its source. One day, they watched her in secret and saw the truth. The Corn Mother was producing the food from her own body, rubbing her sides and arms, drawing forth corn and nourishment directly from herself. What it seemed like abundance was, in fact, sacrifice. A giving that was physical, continuous, and deeply personal. Unable to understand this fully and disturbed by what they witnessed, her sons reacted not with reverence but with fear. In their confusion, they killed her. Yet even in death, the Corn Mother's story does not end. Before she died, she had given instructions, telling them to drag her body across the earth, to clear the ground, and return after a time. When they followed these instructions, something extraordinary occurred. From the place where her body had touched the soil, corn began to grow, not as an endless, effortless gift, but as a crop that required planting, tending, harvesting. What had once been given freely now became part of a cycle, a relationship between human effort and the memory of her sacrifice. This transformation is the heart of the story. The gift did not disappear, but it changed form. It moved from direct provision into a system that required participation. The people could no longer receive without effort, but they also gained something new: knowledge of how to grow, how to sustain themselves, how to continue the gift across generations. The Corn Mother's body became the first field, her sacrifice the foundation of agriculture, her presence carried forward in every stalk of corn that rose from the earth. In this way, she did not vanish, she became the land, the crop, the cycle itself. There is a profound understanding within this story about the nature of what is given. True nourishment is not detached from its source. It comes from somewhere, from someone, from effort, from life itself. The son's inability to recognize this initially leads to loss, but that loss becomes the beginning of awareness. What they receive afterward is not lesser, but different, a gift that now requires respect, care, and participation. Corn must be planted, protected, harvested, and shared. It becomes not just food, but relationship between people and land, between present and past, between what was given and what must now be continued. For many native traditions, corn is not simply a crop, but a relative, a living extension in the corn mother's body. It is treated with reverence, used in ceremony, honored in planting and harvest rituals, and recognized as central to life itself. Each kernel carries memory, not only of growth, but of origin, of the moment when giving became enduring. This perspective transforms the act of eating into something sacred, a continuation of a relationship that began with sacrifice and is sustained through gratitude. Thus, the story of the Corn Mother sins is a reflection of provision as offering, of the way life gives not always through ease, but through transformation, through acts that require recognition and response. It reminds that what sustains us is often rooted in something deeper than we see, that behind every meal, every harvest, there is a story, a process, a giving that made it possible. In every field, in every seed placed into the earth, in every moment where we receive nourishment with awareness, there is her presence, not as something lost, but as something continuing, growing again and again through the cycles of life. Okay. Daily thread for May 24th. What is given often carries unseen cost. Receive with awareness, not assumption. True nourishment is rooted in relationship. What sustains you deserves your care. Some gifts ask you to participate in their continuation. Honor the source, not just the result. What is sacrificed becomes what endures. You are part of what has been given.